Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear students, I hope you all are fine and enjoying your health. Dear students, I welcome you in Pakistan International School Types Virtual Learning System. This is You are in biology class and this is biology class for second year. Today's lecture number 28. Dear students, we are on chapter number 18 and today we will see some more um, hormones and a few endocrine glands also, and then we will see the feedback mechanism, which is very important for the regulation of these hormones production. So let's get started. Dear students, today in this topic we will see some more endocrine tissues or cells, actually not properly glands these are, and they are secreting very important hormones which are having metabolic functions in our body. So we will see about gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, progesterone, prostaglandins, endorphins, melatonin, and thymosin. These are melatonin and thymosin are released from the glands, but these six hormones, they are not properly released from the glands, but there are certain organs or cells from which they are released. So let's talk about, first of all, gastrin. Gastrin produced by specifically from stomach wall and travels in the bloodstream and exerts its effect locally and stimulating the production of pepsinogen and hydrochloric acid in the stomach. It means it helps in the digestion of proteins, as well as when the churning of food is going on and HCl release is going on. So this just stimulates the production of gastrin in the stomach, and due to the stimulation, gastrin is released more and more for better digestion of protein and the churning process. And actually it promotes the release of HCl again into the stomach, and also the churning process. Let's talk about the next one, that is secretin. Secretin is having three main functions. It means this is the secretion. This is the secretion, and it controls the pancreatic and liver secretion. But it is formed in the small intestine, this upper part in the small intestine that is called duodenum. So that is released from the walls of duodenum into pancreas, gallbladder, stomach, and liver. It means that promotes digestion, and specifically it is having three main functions. Number one is regulation of gastric acid, which is released from the wall of the stomach, that is HCl. Then regulation of pancreatic bicarbonates, like this pancreas also release some bicarbonates, which these bicarbonates then the HCl which is coming from this stomach into the duodenum, the pancreatic bicarbonates neutralize them, neutralize that acid. When it is neutralized, so gastrin performs its function to release more HCl, and that secretin performs its function to neutralize it, because in the small intestine acid will not move, that the neutralized HCl will moved on, and that is uh, helpful for intestine for to perform its function of absorption and further digestion. Then it performs the function of osmoregulation in the body. Like this is also the main function of a secretin, to osmoregulate in the body, like the production of salts and water to maintain it. This secretin performs its function. The major physiological action of secretin are stimulation of pancreatic fluids and bicarbonate secretion. That's why it is called secretin. And that is released from the S cells in the small intestine, emit a secretin S cell on the this wall of the small intestine, especially in the duodenum. Then we are going to see cholecystokinin. That is also very, very important hormone, although that is not released from some specific gland, but they are released from the cells. So that is also released in the digestive system, in duodenum, in small intestine. When what happens, the chyme which is moved on from the stomach into the duodenum, the small intestine starts to release cholecystokinins into bloodstream, which binds to receptors on pancreatic acinar cells, and ordering them to secrete large quantities of digestive enzymes. This pancreatic, we have studied this structure. It is having acinar cells as well, which performs exocrine function. So by the duct, acinar cells released some digestive enzymes. These are called pancreatic juice, and this is very, very helpful for the digestion in the intestine, because complete digestion of of lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates, complete digestion is performed in small intestine. So this cholecystokinin is performing the function of, we can see that is released in different parts of the stomach as well, of the digestive system, to perform its function, not only in the pancreas, in the stomach, in gallbladder, and in liver also, with the help of a secretin. So both releases at the same time from small intestine, so both performs almost the related functions. Then we'll see very, very important enzyme, that is very, very important hormone, that is progesterone. Well, progesterone actually that is produced in ovaries, in placenta, in pregnancy, and somehow adrenal glands as well. So that is very, very important in supporting pregnancies, like progesterone helps to maintain the pregnancy. So before this egg is implanted into the uterine wall, it is released from ovaries. So when this is implanted into the endometrium, like inner wall of the uterus, so placenta is going to be formed. Placenta is the connection of the fetus with the mother. So when placenta is started to form between these fetus and the uterine wall, then that progesterone is released from the placenta more and more to just promote a pregnancy and support it. So it produced by ovaries, adrenal glands, and placenta. Progesterone stimulates the endometrium. Endometrium is the inner wall of the uterus and receive, nourish, and implanted fertilized eggs. So implantation does not occur, progesterone level drop, the endometrium breaks down and menstruation occur. So if implantation is not going to be sustained, like does not occur, so what happened? Progesterone level drops because progesterone maintains the pregnancy. Now there is no pregnancy, no progesterone is there, so this endometrium starts to shed and um, menstruation or bleeding occurs. If pregnancy occurs, so opposite of this, if the implantation of the egg, like after fertilization, so you can see here is a fertilization is going to be happen and the egg cell is going to be changed drastically. And what happens in these stages, so we will continue in our next lectures. So progesterone starts to produce in more and more amount to support pregnancy throughout that period. Let's talk about endorphin. Endorphin as a neurotransmitter that is released from the brain, we know it, and anterior pituitary as well. So that is a peptide hormone and that inhibits the pain perception. So that's why it is called the body's natural analgesic and opiate. Like it maintains our mood swings, it just inhibits the pain perception. So mostly endorphin is released during exercise to make our body relax and in like good mood. Like you have observed that when you do exercise, you feel pleasure, you feel relaxed, because endorphin is also secreted in your body, which affect whole of the body, and if there is any pain perception, that inhibits that. So next one is prostaglandin. Prostaglandins you might have studied in grade first year. Prostaglandins are the group of hormones, not the single one, according to the body's requirement, according to the cell's performance, metabolic activities. The prostaglandins perform their functions. So mostly activation of inflammatory response, they are very, very helpful in injuries when we are sick and during infections. So it activates the inflammatory response, production of pain and fever. That's why we are well aware of our diseases, of our injuries, and of our infections. So this is where performing very important function in our body. So when tissues are damaged, white blood cells are mobilized to the site to minimize tissue destruction. So prostaglandins are produced as a result, and which just cause, due to accumulation of white blood cells, it cause inflammation and redness over there, due to more vasodilations or like more release of blood to that area, as well as heat increase due to like it affects or it stimulates the hypothalamus to increase the temperature of the body, so that that must not be like the pathogens which come in our body, that must not like the high temperatures, so they can be killed in the high temperature, as well as our body must be aware there is some problem. Okay, the next one we'll talk about very, very important, pineal gland. So that produces the serotonin, that is the derivative of melatonin. Actually, this is the hormone melatonin, which is produced by pineal gland. Where it is located, well, we can see here at the back of hypothalamus. This is thalamus, and at the back of hypothalamus, you can see this one hypothalamus, and this one is pineal gland. This is very little than pituitary gland, but that is very important for the production of melatonin force, and this is also called sleep hormone because it influences our sexual development as well, and very important, sleep awake cycles, seasonal functions as well, like how to just adjust our body according to the seasonal changes and regulate the body internal functions, internal clock and circadian rhythms. So internal clocks or circadian rhythms, like our body moves according to the circle, according to the clock there is inside the body clock. Body clock means our body just maintain our metabolic activities according to the changing environment that is done uh, per day as well, like in 24 hours, and monthly as well as annually. So annually, like seasonally, our body just regulates its clock according to the seasonal changing. Monthly, like there is reproductive cycles, female reproductive cycle, menstrual cycle that is going on monthly. So that is also regulated by uh, uh, somehow that pineal gland, that is circadian rhythm, that is also called. And most importantly, speak awake cycles, like we uh, sleep at night and in the morning we just get up. That is fixed in our body's system. That is our internal clock which regulates all our body systems. So we'll talk about this inshallah in the next chapter. Then we are having thymus gland. Thymus gland is very important indeed. That is located, if we just see, that is located in between the upper mediastinum of the lungs. So this, the place in between the lung, that is called mediastinum, and in between these two lobed thymus gland is present. You can see here. So this is large in infants, very large in infants. That is up to 70 gram, and in adults that just decreased up to 3 gram, and it is having two-lobed structure. It releases thymosin. It is having very important role regarding our immune system. It uh, it modifies, or it transforms the white blood cells into T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes, T from thymus, because they are transformed into thymus lymphocytes in the thymus glands. That's why they are named as T lymphocytes. These are the white blood cells that they are the standing army in our bodies. So T lymphocytes are formed in like antibodies. These are called like these are we can say the acts as army for the defense system. So that is increased in infants, and that helps for whole of our lifetime. So so that promotes production and maturation of T lymphocytes, like whenever any pathogen comes. So these are the cells which are just standing open-handed for these pathogens to like to kill them or to remove them from our body. so that all immune response is developed in the childhood, in infant stage. So later on, like this gland just decreased its size. Then we will see feedback mechanism. It is very, very important for regulation of the all type of enzymes and hormones. So feedback mechanism, like these hormones gets a feedback from their we can say from their products which they formed, or from like the chemicals which they are releasing. So feedback mechanism is divided into two categories: positive feedback and negative feedback. So the positive and negative are not meant to donate good or bad response, but rather type of response the system has to presence of the effector, like that response which are present on the effectors. Effectors can be glands, can be organs, or can be some tissues or cells. So let's talk about positive feedback. Actually, positive feedback systems initially cause a growing cascade. Like that is happening in our body somewhere. Not so many metabolisms are going to be done by positive feedback, but that is very, very important, and it gives the growing cascade, a chain reaction, like by the previous stimulus, it grows more and more effect. So in which each new product further employs the very process that created it. So the product which it created, it again stimulates the same process, and it will increase its production. So they are typically not ongoing processes in an individual, but rather reactions of specific states of physiological stress. And as we see in very, very important two examples, like the release of, first of all, oxytocin in the female body during the process of labor and childbirth. So this oxytocin is, we know that is released from hypothalamus directly and stored in posterior pituitary, but it stimulates the uterine contraction, which then cause more oxytocin to stimulate to hypothalamus and release more oxytocin, and hence more contraction, and this continues until the baby is born. So this is, and this feedback cycle is finally terminated, the expulsion of the baby and its placenta. Now we will see negative feedback loop. So negative feedback loop, if we can start from anywhere. Corrective mechanisms, if they are switched off. So what happened? Conditions in the body change from the set point, like a normal function of the body. So that change from the set point, then when the change detected to the hypothalamus, then corrective mechanisms activated and conditions return to set point at the normal conditions. So these normal conditions switch off that corrective mechanism, like to release of and the hormones from any gland, and the hormone itself just switched off that mechanism when that is in the more amount. So we'll see some examples of negative feedback. Number one is human body temperature balancing. So that is thermoregulation. Hypothalamus, we know that is very, very sensitive to the temperature. So when temperature is a rise or fluctuate, high or low, so it responds accordingly. So when the temperature drops, the body shivers. We know in cold environment, our body shivers and brings the temperature up to the rise by shivering, by shaking of the muscles. It produces heat. And when it is too warm in the summer, so our body will sweat to cool down by evaporation, by releasing heat out of the body. Number two example, we can get the human blood pressure, that when it is increases, so signals are sent to the brain, and from the blood vessels it is reaches to the brain, and signals are sent to the heart also from the brain, and heart rate slows down, then helping the blood pressure to return to the normal. This is going to be happen with lots of hormones which are released in our body. The other very good example is blood glucose maintenance. So this is very common, that when we just take the glucose of food, any type of food, so that is the stimulus to that increase, like stimulus, what is rising of the blood glucose level in the body. Then this stimulates the pancreas, and that pancreas because by eating something we are having high blood glucose level, by absorption more glucose from the small intestine. So high glucose level stimulates pancreas. So pancreas detecting and secreting insulin, and then insulin, pancreas secretes the hormone insulin, causing liver cells to take up the glucose and store it as glycogen, as well as it helps the cells because it binds on the receptors which are present on the cell's surface, to just promote to uptake of the glucose to the cells, and as well as it just stimulates inside enzymatic activities of the cells to increase this uptaking of this glucose, and changing it into like somehow like into fats, into proteins, like that, and just production of energy, ATP. And then it what it does, the blood glucose level just decline, and that insulin release stops. When blood glucose level gets down, production of insulin gets stopped. So this is negative feedback. So then homeostasis starts to the just remain at normal, and blood glucose level gets normal. So that is again happen if blood glucose is less in the body. So it stimulates pancreas, which cells we know that alpha cells, which produce glucagon, and which just give messages to the liver to break down glucose, and then less uptake of this glucose to the cells also, because glucagon binds with these receptors, and also changing the enzymatic process to decrease like uptake of glucose by the cells, and then glucose level of the blood will be normal. So the production of glucagon from the pancreas will be stopped. So this is very, very important for regulation of the homeostasis. Dear students, by this we have completed our chapters and that is chemical coordination. Now we'll see its a summary. Just start from the hypothalamus, that it releases certain hormones, thyroid releasing hormone, and then CRH, corticotropic releasing hormone, and GHR, growth hormones, dopamine, that is also just pain, as a pain, we can say the painkillers in the body, somatostatin, which decrease the production of growth hormones, vasopressin also, that is released from hypothalamus directly, including, if we see here, oxytocin and vasopressin is released from here, GH, TSH, and in response of these hormones, this pituitary gland releases its hormone, FSH, MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, prolactin, that is for the production of more milk from the breast, oxytocin, we have talked about right now, vasopressin, and to increase the blood pressure, and pineal gland, melatonin, that increase regulate the sleep pattern in the body, thyroid gland and parathyroid gland, T3, T4, like thyroxine, that is released, calcitonin to regulate calcium, and parathormone to in response of less calcium level. Then we are having in the liver, so the liver secretes IGF. IGF is actually insulin-like growth factor, and that helps in the childhood for growth. Then THPO, that is thrombopoietin, to regulate platelets production in the liver. Adrenal gland, it releases androgens, the male hormones, glucocorticoids, adrenaline and non-adrenaline, on complete this one. Adrenal glands, kidney, calcitriol, renin, and erythropoietin, just formation of red blood cells from the bone, as well as to regulate the salts and water content in the body. Testes, they really release androgens, estradiol, like they are all male hormones, and inhibit inhibit the process of male hormones. Thymus, that is thymopoietin or thymosin, that is for the production of T lymphocytes. Then stomach, we are having gastrin and ghrelin, histamine, somatostatin, and neuropeptide. Why these are actually not discussed here in this chapter, but except we are having just a scene about gastrin, and histamine is the allergic hormone, and somatostatin that is for inhibition of this regulation of these hormones. Then we are having in pancreas, insulin, glucagon, and somatostatin. They are released from pancreas. Insulin and glucagon, we know what is the function of that, somatostatin to regulate the function of insulin and glucagon. Then female hormones are released from ovary and placenta, estrogen and progesterone. Then from the uterus, prolactin and relaxin, which relax the stomach, contraction of this cervix and uterus after the birth of the child. Okay, dear students, that's it for today. I hope you understood it, and we got the review of this lecture of all this chapter. Wish you all the best. I hope you will join us in the next lecture. Also, we'll start a new chapter. Allah Hafiz.